or to giving you access to and from your property. And that's an example. If you call in with a question, we don't know the answer right away during the week, we will do the additional research to get you the very best answer we can here on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. 877-943-9673. You can call in now, live and local. Let's go to our first caller of the day. Let's go to Holiday. Let's talk to, is it Lana or Lena? How do you say it?
Yes. Good morning.
Good.
I'm having an issue with my car and the dealership and the mechanic. I have a Hyundai, and what happened is the tire light would come on, and I knew it was the sensors, and sure enough, I took it in, had 4 sensors replaced. Tire light went out for maybe a day or two, so I brought it back, and I've had to do this maybe 5 or 6 times now. The light keeps coming back. They keep saying I have to update the software, and only the dealership can do it.
Yeah.
They updated the software up to a limit, but they said there's a new, I'm not sure what it's called. But long story short, I made an appointment with the dealership, the Hyundai dealership. I took it in there, and they checked it out, and they said, oh, you have to replace the sensor. And I said, well, all 4 have already been replaced. So I went back to the dealership. I let them know what happened. They said, okay, they took it out, and they let me know they had receipts for it and that I was not getting the generic versions, that my car can only have the actual Hyundai product. Okay, went back to Hyundai, made the appointment. They checked it out 2 hours later. They're telling me I have to have 4 sensors replaced and that it'll cost me almost $900. So I went back to the mechanic, and he said they can't do anything else. I'm out all that money, and I just want resolution, and I don't know what the next step could be.
All right. So just to be clear, right now your vehicle is completely safe, operable, no issue with the tires holding pressure.
Yes.
So you've got air in your tires,
Yes.
nothing's flat. Okay, good. So I think I might have some assistance. Now, I do want to give you a caveat here, Lana. I am not a mechanical guy. I mean, if you want to get a visual, that's fine. We can create a visual here. Imagine me in a blue collar shirt. My name has been stitched on a patch that's sewn on my above my left pocket, and it says Patrick. And I'm going to roll up my sleeves, and we'll take a look at this problem and see what we can do to help with the car. Here's the issue that I think you might be having. Has anyone gone in and done a reset? Because you say the tire sensor. I'm presuming you mean the tire pressure monitoring sensor. It's the little symbol that looks like a parens with an exclamation point in the middle of it. Is that the sensor that's going off? That's the sensor, right?
Yeah, the tire light keeps coming back on.
Okay, you said it keeps coming back on, but it's never going off. It's just staying on, correct?
Correct.
All right,
well,
so
when they first worked on it, for the first day, the light was off. Then it came back on.
Okay, have you done yourself a reset of your tire pressure monitoring sensor?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so
well, you know what? And the thing is too, this is not a new mechanic. I've been taking my car there for about 7 years, and they've always been on the up and up. So that's the first thing that I thought of.
Okay. So here's the thing. I would say this is what I did, because I had my wife's car had a tire replaced, and I drove it off immediately, and I noticed the same thing. I said, oh my gosh, the TPMS is still telling me I got a flat tire, and Google it, and it says it needs to be reset. And I was 1 YouTube video away, so I pulled over, YouTube video, how to fix it, and walk through the 3 or 4 steps. And then basically you just have to drive for like 75 yards, and it automatically resets after you've gone through this system. So what I would do, and Lana, I want you to call back and let us know if this works, if you do it. So just go to YouTube and search reset of, and you could probably type in TPMS for tire pressure monitoring sensor on Hyundai, and your make and model, as specific as you can be. Type that into that search bar. You're probably going to find 10 YouTube videos on how to reset that TPMS. My guess would be that's probably going to be the fix, because it's probably not a bad sensor at this point. It sounds like the sensors have been given plenty of attention. It's probably just not reset. That's my guess. So try that. And if that doesn't work, then I think you go back to them and you say, and you just, paper trail it. You give them a letter and you say, hey, look, here's the narrative. And we always talk about this all the time. When you send someone a demand letter, if you find yourself getting emotional about it and angry and upset, write that version, then burn it and go back and write what we call the Joe Friday version, just the facts. I hired you guys this date, this time, service. This was the result. I brought it back. And then at the end, tell them what you want. Here's what I want. And here's when I want it performed. I want it performed in the next 7 days, 2 weeks, whatever makes you happy, and give them that. So option one, try to fix it by just, searching that YouTube video on how to reset the TPMS. Number two, if that doesn't work, walk in with your demand letter and say, here's my letter. Let me know when you guys have a response. And if they don't respond to you, that's a response. And then you may need to hire counsel at that point. But it's a small enough amount that you could go small claims if you're going to go that direction, but I don't think it's going to get that far, Lana. I'm 90% confident the reset will probably fix your problem, okay?
I will try it. I mean, this has been going on for months.
Are you with your car now?
Yeah, I've got the car outside the house.
All right. So, hey, when we hang up, I'm going to continue on with the show. Don't stop listening. Put an AirPod in or something, and go and try to do this. And if it works during the show, call us back and let us know if it worked or not.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'll try everything. I'm set up with the dealership and with the mechanics, and okay, I will try it. I'm going to hang up right now, but I'll get out my laptop and go on YouTube and try it, and I'll let you know.
All right, Lana, we'll be standing by, and we look forward to hopefully some positive news on the resolution of Lana's TPMS system, okay?
Me too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Lana. Thanks for listening. All right, 877-943-9673. It's just that easy. Lana made it look easy because it is easy. You call in with your question. We give you the very best legal advice we can. And also sometimes apparently we turn into a little bit of a mechanic show. And that's just because of, so listen, when you're not a mechanical guy and you have a chance to show off some limited mechanical knowledge on how to reset a tire pressure monitor, you take that chance. You get those opportunities are rare for guys who went to law school, I think. So yeah, we're going to take that chance live on the air of our legal call-in show. 877-943-9673. If you want to be part of today's show, give us a call now with your legal or automotive question. 877-943-9673. We received several special thank yous, but for previous broadcasts, but one in particular this week. Reached out and said, hey, just wanted to go back and say you did a broadcast a few weeks back about a guide to probate, kind of what your family could expect in the probate process, sort of walked them through, the loved one passing away, securing death certificates, all the way through the final accounting and the discharge and the distribution to the beneficiaries and everything in between. And someone reached out and said, hey, that really helped us. We lost a loved one, and that particular show was particularly helpful. So those sorts of thank yous are particularly buoying to us. That's why we do the show, to be an assistance to you in your time of need. And speaking of shows that have become popular, the Probate Guide show was definitely popular, but by far gaining in popularity very rapidly is our Florida and New York laws show we did with attorney Ken Henry about 3 weeks ago when we were live from New York City. Still getting lots of requests for that show. And we have it if you'd like it emailed directly to you, but you can also go directly to the website. That is attorneypatricksmith.com, and lots of other helpful information on the website. You can book an appointment through the website if you like. But if you're just there and you want to go and listen to any of our previous shows, just scroll down to the radio section and then click on that. During the show, you can actually click on that to listen live. Afterwards, about 2 hours after the show, the latest show will be up, but you can scroll back there by date. So it's the January 27th show was our show live from New York City with attorney Ken Henry, licensed New York attorney, where we discussed for the hour the differences between Florida and New York laws. So definitely one of our more popular shows and continuing to gain in popularity. So you can check out attorneypatricksmith.com, scroll down to radio for any of our previous shows, including the Florida versus New York show. All right, if you want to be part of today's broadcast, 877-943-9673 and toll-free studio line 877-943-9673. All right, next we're going to welcome John to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. John, how can we help you today?
Good morning. I appreciate your show. I love it. It's a great way to start a Saturday.
Well, John, I appreciate your kind words. How can we help?
Well, let me describe this problem a number of my older friends are having. Husband will be on the computer. Husband has or is the onset of dementia or some challenges, mental challenges. The computer locks up or whatever, and the next thing you know, he's at the bank getting $600 and buying credit cards for Target or something. And the challenge is with the wife saying, how do we stop this? And I guess the universal question is there a way that one can require a bank to have two signatures on a check? It's an ongoing challenge, Patrick, and with multiple friends. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are as a way to get your hands around it.
So whether or not the bank can require two signatures, that's a question for each individual bank, is whether or not their regulations would permit that. It's a question I would just send them directly to the bank and say, hey, can we require two signatures? But a more common solution that I see, John, is usually people who are starting to diminish often recognize it. And if it's presented to them in a non-adversarial setting, so if it's like a first marriage of 50 or 60 years, and you sit them down as a couple, and one spouse says, "Hey, I'm worried. I think it may be time for us to consider making some changes." A lot of times, a change that they will consider is, instead of both spouses serving as trustees of the trust, the spouse who's starting to show signs of some sort of diminished capacity, while they still have their requisite legal faculties to make certain changes, will go ahead and resign as the trustee of their own trust. So they give up any authority as far as managerial, check writing, bill pay, any of that kind of stuff, and leave it to the other fully facultied spouse or more fully facultied spouse. So that way, and in a single person situation, say one spouse is passed and the widow or widower still remaining, and they recognize that they're having trouble, the strategy you would see there is they would resign and let the successor trustee, whomever they've picked, whether it's a child or a sibling, someone step up who can adequately monitor and make sure that they're not being taken advantage of. And I think if it's presented to them that way, and not in a sort of "we're taking away the keys to your car" sort of conversation, because I think it's two very different strategies with the same goal in mind. You're trying to protect them from themselves. And I think that's a more successful strategy than saying, "Hey, let's require two signatures for everything," because that's really just going to lead to a lot more consternation and having one trustee without the person giving up any benefits. So by resigning as the trustee, they're still getting the benefit of the money. They just don't have any managerial responsibilities over the money. So I think that would be a far more palatable strategy, John.
Now, the question is this: what does one do if one doesn't have a trust, but a full blown will?
Well, I think in that scenario, it may be time to consider creating a trust. I mean, a lot of people talk about doing trust just to avoid probate, and that's true, and that's the one that gets touted all around Florida all the time. But I think it's often underappreciated how much trust provide for incapacity planning, and that's just as big of a benefit, in my opinion, if not more so, than avoiding probate, because the statistics tell us that most of us will be incapacitated for some period prior to our death, John. And if you look at the statistical spending during your lifetime, I believe it shows that the final 30 to 90 days of your life are the most expensive days that you ever live. So having someone that you've pre-selected in the trust can go a long way to protect you and your family during that period of incapacity. So I think if that's coming, you consider possibly creating a trust in a world where you don't have that option. And you said the person just has a will and they have no other documents. If they still have their faculties, again, I think they get in and try to create it. But if they don't, if they're too far gone, I think the solution you're left with is one, and it's called guardianship. And that's where you petition the court to become that loved one's court-appointed guardian, have them stripped of their rights. But again, that's a little more adversarial than them voluntarily relinquishing their role in administering their finances.
Interesting, because I think the trust in that regard would be a lot less challenging to both parties to understand. And yeah, that's a very good point. All right, I've got my work cut out for me. You do have a Sarasota office, don't you?
I do. I was there last Tuesday. So yeah, so if you want to, and we're trying to add more appointments as we can. Yeah, Sarasota and Sun City Center are definitely two of our highest demand. All of them are in high demand, but Sarasota Sun City Center really taken off in popularity largely because of the show and great listeners like you, John. So yes, we have a Sarasota office. I'll give out the office line as soon as we hang up, and write it down. Office open Monday 8 a.m. and they'll be there to take your call, John, and get you on the calendar. Okay.
Great. Appreciate your help.
No
Bye.
problem, John. Have a great day. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local studio line to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We'll be standing by to screen your call and get you live on the air with me, Attorney Patrick Smith. And again, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. We'd love to talk to you today. Happy Super Bowl weekend. 877-943-9673. And I promised John and the rest of you the office line. So if you want to schedule your complimentary consultation, that toll-free number to schedule with yours truly, 877-754-6764. Again, that's the toll-free office line, open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You can give us a call to schedule in Sarasota, Sun City Center, Claremont, Clearwater, any of our office locations. 877-754-6764. 877-754-6764. Again, that is the toll-free office line. But to talk to us today live on the show, 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. And speaking of kind of what John was alluding to about an elderly loved one being taken advantage of and getting scammed in some regard, we have a new scam alert. So I think we've done at least 2, maybe 3 shows where we were dedicated exclusively to scams, but a new one has come across my desk. All right. The new scam that's going out is a letter will come in the mail and say, you owe a parking violation. And the parking violation will not be from a governmental entity. It will try to make you think it is from some sort of governmental entity based on just phraseology. Now, this particular piece of correspondence, when I reviewed it, actually had typos in it. So that was my first suspicion. And it says basically, you get this letter and it's sent out, and it's basically sent out on a date and time so that they know timing wise, you will get the letter on or about the date that they say everything escalates. So you have the sense of urgency. Again, one of the signs of scams is there's always a sense of urgency. You got to act right now. So you get this letter. It says you have a parking violation and you need to pay it by this time, this date, which is usually, the day before you got the letter or the day you got the letter. In this case, the recipient of the letter, it was the exact date that it was going to escalate. So you log on to this website, which is not a .gov, it's a .com, and basically you can type in information and it shows your violation and you can make a payment. Problem is, it's not a payment to any governmental agency for a parking violation. This is just a scam that's going around. And so if you go and you want to verify, so this particular individual actually checked, and the date of the violation, they were, nowhere, they weren't even in the state of Florida at that time. So there was no way that they could have been parked at that particular location. So that being said, you can check. If someone says, hey, you have a parking violation from this particular municipality, if you search for parking violations, say you got a parking violation from the city of Clearwater or the city of Tampa or something like that. If you search that, you will see the site where you can go and address your parking violations. And what you'll notice is if you go and search the legitimate site versus the one in the scam, it is not the same thing. So be aware of this scam. The scammers are getting more and more creative. And again, the hallmarks of a scam, it's usually something where you log on and give your financials, and it's something of that nature. And it's always urgent. Again, that's a big red flag. The scam about people years ago calling, you have an IRS debt and you need to pay it. It's actually this amount, but we can settle it for pennies on the dollar if you make a payment right now. And again, that sign of urgency is always a red flag for a scam. And again, like this party, you can always bring it to your attorney. And if it's a phone call, you can scare a lot of scammers away by saying, hey, I'm going to check with my attorney and I'll get back to you. A lot of times that gets them to run off. And I remember years ago when a scammer actually called me, as soon as I mentioned the fact that I was a practicing attorney, they couldn't hang up fast enough. So make sure you make mention of your attorney. A lot of times that'll get those scammers to go away. If you know of any new scams, by the way, listeners are always welcome to contribute content suggestions. So feel free to shoot us an email, Patrick at Attorney Patrick Smith, if you come across any new scams, or if you want to call in now, 877-943-9673. So everybody be safe out there. Again, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Next, we're going to go to Joanne in Sarasota. Joanne. Hey, Joanne.
Good morning.
Is this the Joanne?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
You sound like you're in a great mood this morning, Joanne. What's going on?
Oh, I am every day. I'm vertical and moving forward.
Amen.
I understand you said you have an office now in Sarasota.
Yeah, and you're gonna correct me, aren't you? Because it's technically Lakewood Ranch.
Oh, okay. Well, exactly where is it in Lakewood?
So it's right off University. So right after you get off 75.
I understand that. I'm close to it.
So
yeah,
right after you get off 75, there on University, there's that little gas station. You can just make a right, and then it's down in that little strip of professional buildings.
Okay, so in other words, you go east a block or two and take a right.
Yeah, I think it's 6260 Lake Osprey Drive, if I'm not mistaken. That's from memory.
Oh, that's wonderful. Two things. I must get you over here in the Meadows. People would love it.
You said that before. When are we going to
I
do
know.
this,
I'm going
Joanne?
to go down there and do it. I'm making a list and checking it twice.
All right.
Here is a question I have for you. I don't want to don't want to necessarily sell my residence, but I would like, if I pass away, I'd like my grandson to share in the profits of it. So how can you set it up that way to leave it to two people at the time of sale, the proceeds be divided?
You can do whatever you want. Now, if the parent of this grandchild is still living, you might have an issue with what we call the generation skipping transfer tax, although the exemption on that's very, very high. So, Joanne, yes is my short answer. You can do that.
He's 18 now.
Yeah, that's fine. But the generation skipping transfer taxes when you try to skip a living child to go directly to the next generation.
Right.
But again, that exemption is so very high. So if you're not north of like $13 million, it's probably not relevant for you.
Oh, right.
But it's what we call a remote risk for you. But it is possible that those things could change. That exemption could come down. Your estate could go up. You could win the lottery. And so we just have that conversation with clients to put it on your radar, even though it is incredibly remote and unlikely that would be relevant. But yes is the short answer. And you mentioned he's 18. He wouldn't even need to be 18. He could be a minor. You could create a trust to hold his interest until his 18th or 21st birthday, whatever you chose. And so I don't think it would have been outcome determinative as to whether or not he was a minor or he was sui juris at 18.
I don't, bank accounts and such, you can, put it in trust for. That's easy enough, isn't it?
Well, those are called Totten Trust. Yeah, or they're basically, it's a great way. It's comparable to what we call a pay on death or a transfer on death account.
Right.
I don't think it's as efficient as a real living revocable trust. And here's the key point there, Joanne. So with a ITF account or in trust for account, no one can touch the money if you're incapacitated, because it's in trust for, which basically means it's accessible upon your death or not your incapacity. If it's in an actual living trust, as we talked about earlier with an earlier caller of the show, I think when John called in, it was a discussion about how do we protect assets during incapacity. And we said, trusts get a big shot in the arm and a lot of notoriety for avoiding probate, but they also provide for incapacity planning. And this is a good point. So if you take your account and you move it from an ITF to being funded into your revocable living trust, now not only do you avoid probate for that account in the trust, but you also have a successor trustee on the trust designated to step up and protect that property, that bank account, for you and your care from aggressive creditors like nursing homes and other entities to the fullest extent under Florida law should that day occur. I think that's better than an ITF, in my opinion.
Right. That's very good. Okay, that's good to know. The final question, over at your office, how is the name on the door or on the sign?
So we're actually in the Oxala Wealth Suite there in the Sarasota office. So you'll just go into the Oxala Wealth Suite, and that's where we are.
I'm sorry, how do you spell that?
It's Alaska spelled backwards.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Joanne, do you have any predictions for the big game on Sunday?
No, it'll last long and go into overtime.
You think so? My choices for you were, do you think the 49ers are going to win, or do you think the Taylor Swifts are going to win?
I hope the 49ers win. I'm rooting for them.
Okay. All right. Well, hey,
All right, dear.
have a great day,
Enjoy.
Joanne. Thanks for calling in. Okay.
Bye.
All righty. 877-943-9673. And credit has to go to my wife for giving me the idea of remonitoring the Chiefs, the Taylor Swifts, which I think if they win, maybe that could happen. Who knows? So 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. All right, let's go to St. Pete. We're going to talk to Mary. Mary, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. How can we help you today?
Hey, good morning. If you have money, but you also have property, is there any way that you can sort of dictate in your trust that the cash is to be used only for your care if something happens to you, or to help take care of your properties because you won't be able to do that? Can you dictate that that money is to be used only for those purposes, at least until you die? And then you really wouldn't have any idea how it's used.
Yes, is the short answer. I'm going to come back to the way you ended that comment because I'm not sure I agree with the very last thing you said. But the first part about can you set it up so that the trust is basically set aside for you as the grantor, the creator of the trust, while you're living, whether or not you're competent and running your own show, or if you're incapacitated, some successor trustee has taken over to protect you. Yeah, that's standard language in what we call a grantor's life interest clause. And it's basically lays that out. It says something to the effect of in monthly or any more convenient installments, the trustee of the trust can invade as much of the trust corpus or the money in the trust basically for the purposes of my care. And the short answer at the end of that comment, you said, and then you don't care what happens or you don't know what happens. I think that would just trigger a different article. So you have an article that says, hey, do this while I'm alive, whether I'm running the show or not, preserve the money for me. But I think you do want to go on to another article to say, and when I'm dead, do this with the money, divide it equally among the kids or divide it among these charities or a mixture of both, or maybe something to your church or charity or whatever. But I do think you speak to both phases, Mary, what to use the money for during my lifetime and what to do upon my passing.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, Mary, any predictions for Sunday's game?
I don't really watch football. Sorry.
Are you are you a Taylor Swift fan?
Oh, no, no.
You're not? Okay. That sounded really, really certain. Why aren't you a Taylor Swift fan? I'm just curious, Mary.
Well, because I'm 70 and somewhere in the music realm, I just kind of lost interest in the whole music business anyway. It turned into rap and different things that I just really didn't like. So
well, sounds like
I
you got
listened to a lot of Motown.
A lot of Motown. All right. Well, it sounds like you got some bad blood with Taylor Swift, but maybe you can just shake it off and eventually, just check out her music and give it a try again. Because there's a lot of her music that I think, Mary, give it a shot if you have it. I love listening to music that elicits a response from me, whether it's like, oh, I love this music or I cannot stand this music. But I find that, that's the great thing about art is just the response it gets from you. Teaches you a lot about the artist, teaches you a lot about yourself. And so good or bad, you can learn a lot either way. So Mary, maybe give it one more shot. Okay.
I listen to Led Zeppelin. Thank you.
I love that, Mary. All right, Mary, have a great Saturday. 877-943-9673. That was fantastic how Mary said, I don't listen to Taylor Swift because I'm 70. So because I'm 70, I listen to Led Zeppelin instead. That's fascinating. And this is the great thing about this show. You never know who's going to call in, and all the callers are wonderful and interesting, and everyone's so diverse. This listenership, the demographics that this show covers is absolutely breathtaking to me. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now. We're live and local. Happy to help any way that we can. Your toll-free studio line, 877-943-9673. And Joanne mentioning us having an opportunity maybe in the future coming down to speak. I believe that the community she mentioned was the Meadows. If you would like to speak, book us to come and speak to your group, you can always call the main office line, 877 877-943-9764. You can go to the website, attorneypatricksmith.com, submit a request there. Lots of you doing that. And booking lots of speaking engagements as we speak, including the one we have coming up this Tuesday. For those of you in the Largo area, I will be speaking at Coquina Cove on Wednesday, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day early. And if you want to come out and see us, we'll be at Coquina Cove on Wednesday, February 10th at 10 a.m. We'll be there from 10 to 11-ish, depending on how long the Q&A goes. That'll be this Wednesday at 10 a.m., Coquina Cove in Largo, Florida. So come and check us out. And again, if you have a club, group, organization that could take advantage of us coming out as a public speaker, and you want to hear one of our particularly prepared topics, or if you want a topic prepared for your specific group, we're happy to customize it for you. Again, you can reach out to the office line, 877-754-6764. So the same line you call to schedule your complimentary consultation, you can call that same line to schedule us to come out and speak to your club or group. 877-754-6764. All right. To be part of today's show, 877-943-9673. Shoot me an email. If you want to email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, but we always prefer live callers, 877-943-9673. All right. While the next calls are getting queued up, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about deeds. Deeds seem to be coming up a lot at the law office this week, a lot of information, misinformation. So I thought I'd just give you a brief tutorial, sort of in that spirit of the probate guide and our Florida versus New York guide, just something helpful to you, the listener. There's lots of different kinds of deeds here in the state of Florida. Thought I'd just give you a brief list. Number one is the warranty deed. The warranty deed is when typically you buy a new home from a third party that you don't know from Adam. And the warranty deed does exactly what it sounds like. They warrant certain things, namely that they hold title, and also that it's good title, and they honor and promise to protect your right in the conveyance of that property. The next is the quitclaim deed. And the quit, often misquoted as quick, it is actually quit, Q-U-I-T, as in quitting the claim, is a way to transfer it without any of the warranty of a warranty deed. Basically, this is a way when you are accepting property from someone that you implicitly trust. You don't need their verification that they own title or have good title. For whatever reason, it's a family member or a close family friend, you know that they hold good title. You will often see the quitclaim deed as the methodology used to transfer from yourself back to yourself as trustee of your trust. Now, why would that be? Because when you bought the home, you bought it under a warranty deed. So you know you hold good title. Now the transfer is from yourself to yourself. And if you can't trust yourself, you have bigger problems than the deed. So the quitclaim is the most common methodology we see with transferring property to the living revocable trust. Next, we have a personal representative's deed. This is at the end of a probate. When someone is receiving title from a decedent's estate, oftentimes the person who's in charge, called a personal representative, will sign a personal representative's deed. If it's a trust, there is what we call a trustee's distributive deed. And the trustee's distributive deed, of course, the counterpart to a personal representative's deed. Difference there, under the trust, there was no probate. There's also something called a ladybird, is the colloquialism for it. It's actually called an enhanced life estate deed. You hear people often talking about these as an option to avoiding probate without creating a trust, and they may avoid probate. I think there's some drawbacks potentially with the enhanced life estate deed, in that it doesn't really address incapacity planning as efficiently as a trust, and it doesn't really address contingency planning, I think, in most scenarios. So if you do an enhanced life estate deed, that's where you basically say, I keep these certain rights to the property, but upon my death, it goes to this person. Oftentimes the deeds don't really address, well, what if that person, the beneficiary under that life estate deed, enhanced life estate deed, dies first? So they don't address that adequately. And that's where I think if you have it in the trust says, hey, if this person dies, then to their children or someone else, there's contingency planning sort of built in. So there's your 101 on deeds in the great state of Florida. If you have a question, comment on deeds or any other legal topic, 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Next, we're going to Port Charlotte. We're going to talk to Henry. Henry, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Patrick. How are you?
I'm great, Henry. How are you?
I'm fine. Hey, I sounded like I was listening to maybe, were you trying to audition for a new version of Car Talk? this morning offering the automobile advice?
Well, listen, as I said, if I get to stretch my leg, so listen, I'll tell you this: I don't consider myself a real radio guy. So when I get a chance to pretend to be what I call a real radio guy and something like that is an example of, that's real radio right there. You're giving advice about, fixing someone's car, getting them to work. And that's why I like going on other radio personality shows, because there you get a chance to just be a guest on someone else's show, and you can kind of stretch your legs a little bit, and it just has a different feel to it. So that opportunity, Henry, I wasn't going to let it pass me by. No, absolutely. If I could audition to do an automotive show, sure, why not? There's no such thing as too much radio, right?
Absolutely not.
How can we help you today, Henry?
Hey, we're going to be purchasing property out of state here in the state of Pennsylvania. Can that property from out of state, can that be put into our trust here in Florida?
It's really a question of Pennsylvania law and Florida law. From the Florida law side, the answer is yes. And from many cases that I've worked with in the past with attorneys from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they have all indicated yes is the case. If you do have counsel in Pennsylvania, call them and they'll tell you the Pennsylvania side of it. The short answer is, if you don't have Pennsylvania counsel, I can put you in touch with some very good Pennsylvania attorneys that we've worked with over the years.
Okay.
Whereabouts in Pennsylvania are you buying property?
Well, it's in a town called York, Pennsylvania.
Closer to Philly or Pittsburgh, or where are you?
Well, it's right below Harrisburg.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard of York Barbell. They're located there.
York
Air Conditioning.
Okay, no. But
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
I've never been to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, mostly because it is entirely too cold part of the year to go there.
Agreed.
So no is the short answer. But Henry, any predictions on Sunday's game?
No, I won't be watching. So
Really?
yes.
Like intentionally? Like, are you protesting the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I kind of gave up on professional sports when they started taking political stands. I just felt it was time to give up on them.
Okay. Well, listen, I admire the fact that you took a stand, Henry. That takes a lot of courage. So, hey, good for you. I'm going to watch the game. I watch at this point mostly for the commercials. And one of my neighbors is a television executive, and I get the biggest kick out of my conversations with him because I say, hey, television executives hope for one thing on Super Bowl Sunday. Do you know what it is, Henry?
Nobody goes away from the TV when the commercials come on.
A close game. They hope for a close game. That way, the ad sales stay up, and the viewership. You can tell a radio guy's talking about television. The viewership stays up. So, yeah, absolutely. But Henry, I admire your stance and your determination, and we'll tell you all about it next week. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Patrick.
All right. Thank you, Henry. 877-943-9673. I said it once. I'll say it again. I love the listenership to this show. It's just such a wide cross section of society. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to join us on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Had an issue come up at the law office. I don't know. It's been several times over the last month or so. So I wanted to address it live on the air with just sort of a conceptual analysis of how power of attorneys work. Here's the conversation we've been having a lot recently. Someone will call about an incapacitated loved one, and they will say, I need to get power of attorney over this person. So oftentimes they're well-meaning people. They're trying to help this incapacitated loved one. Not always, in my opinion, but most of the time they are. And I will say this, the basic fundamental misunderstanding there is that a power of attorney is not something that you get over somebody. What you get over someone is a guardianship. That's where you take over that person. A power of attorney is something that is given voluntarily. So if a power of attorney is going to be executed, the party that will be granting it calls the attorney, schedules the appointment with the attorney, meets with the attorney, and says, I've reached the point in my life where I realize I need a power of attorney. I need someone to operate under this principal agent relationship. I'll be the principal. I'm going to designate my spouse, child, friend, whomever as my agent in my stead to make medical, legal, or both decisions for me now or if I'm unable. So conceptually, understand that a power of attorney is voluntarily given of free will. It is not taken over someone. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Next, we're going to Tom in St. Pete. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great, Tom. How's St. Pete this morning?
It's pretty good. Nice out today.
Yeah, it's gorgeous this morning. I stepped outside. It was beautiful. How can we help you, Tom?
I just wanted your opinion on a ladybird deed.
Yeah, so we just did that segment. Did you hear me run down the deeds? We're going through the warranty deed, the quit claim, personal representative, trustees deed, all those?
I missed that part. I probably was in Wawa getting my coffee.
You just missed it. So again, just to recap it, we ran down that list, and the last one we covered was the enhanced life estate, or the colloquialism for that, the ladybird deed. And I said they're often touted as a way to avoid probate, and they can avoid the probate process. But for many estates, and again, I think it's worth a consultation with your own estate planning attorney, kind of which option is going to be optimal for you and your estate. But my prediction is a lot of times ladybird deeds fall short when it comes to incapacity planning. It doesn't really speak to what's done if I'm not deceased, but I'm incapacitated. And additionally, oftentimes you don't see in ladybird deeds what to do if the person to whom you beneficiaried the property has passed away as well. There's no contingency planning there, so to speak. And so with the property in a trust, it can avoid probate, and we can have good incapacity planning, and we can also have a contingency plan should one of those beneficiaries pass. Does that make sense, Tom?
Yes, sir. Makes all the sense. I will probably be calling your office to set up consultation.
All right, Tom, we'll look forward to working with you. And do you have any predictions for Sunday's game?
I'm pulling for the 49ers, but I think the Chiefs will come out on top.
Why are you pulling for the 49ers? Are you like a Steve Young, Joe Montana fan, or is there another reason? Are you pulling for the 49ers, or are you pulling against the Chiefs?
Against the Chiefs.
Now,
I did love Joe Montana back in the day.
Well, we all did. I mean, Joe Montana was the first quarterback I remember. The very first Super Bowl I ever remember watching was the Niners-Bengals a game, and I remember being allowed to stay up to watch that game. So, no, everybody. So it just sounds like you're rooting against the Taylor Swifts.
Yes, I'm a big Bucs fan, and I went to their first two playoff games way back in my younger days.
All right. Well, hey, I remember going to the Bucs game when they wore the old creamsicle jerseys. Do you remember those?
Yes. Oh, yes. I love those.
Yeah, something special. Anyway, Tom, enjoy the game. We appreciate you calling in, okay?
Okay, thank you, sir. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Tom. I'll give out that office line as soon as you hang up, okay?
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All righty, the office line, per Tom's request, if you would like to reach us for your complimentary estate planning consultation regarding deeds or trust or any estate planning or any other legal topic, that toll-free office line, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764, your toll-free office line to be part of today's show. I'm sorry, to schedule your complimentary appointment. The number to be part of today's show, 877-943-9673. That is your live and local studio line if you would like to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. And in short-term rental follow-up news, we did talk, and we had, again, special thank you to Senator Nick DeCiglia for being on the show to discuss Senate Bill 280. The latest on that is the House bill, the sister bill to Senate Bill 280. House Bill 1537 is on its way through the House. And so it's making its way. I believe it's going to be up for vote here before too long. And then we'll have the, of course, conference where they try to resolve the differences between the House version and the Senate version of the bill. And we will keep you apprised of any developments there. Also, additionally, in things we're watching news, we are on SCOTUS alert. It sort of worked out with the timing. Bring the mute. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. So, yes, we are on official. No, Yumiko, bring it all the way down. I'm not talking over the national anthem. That's disrespectful. We're not going to do that. So, yeah, just bring it all the way down. Kill it. Thank you. So, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties. Anyway, we are on SCOTUS watch. And I was so worried that this might actually happen. The Supreme Court decision on the President Trump being on the ballot decision against the state of Colorado might actually come up yesterday, and I have to do complete rewrite of the show prep. But we are watching it. As soon as we have that decision, we will do a thorough analysis. Those calling in, we'll queue you up. I'll talk to you off the air. Again, our apologies for the glitches. If you want to be part of next week's show, the toll-free studio line, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. To reach me at the office, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764, or email me, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. We'll see you next week. Everyone stay safe and enjoy the big game on Sunday. Talk to you soon.
The proceeding was sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. W282CI Tampa, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
This President's Day, honor the legacy that shaped America with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. At AMAC, we celebrate the courage and leadership that built our nation. In honor of President's Day, enjoy our exclusive sale.